The following is a Simpronto media production.
Leaders, real life leaders.
Welcome to the Real Life Leadership Podcast, where we share real stories from real life leaders to help you become a better leader in your organization. My name's Thomas Lane. Most y'all call me T Lane. And who do I have with us today?
Chantel Ray.
Yeah.
And Heather Remick.
All right. Well, today we want to talk about bureaucracy and we want to simplify people's lives, because I think what happens is as you grow, you start adding too many processes, and then all those processes make things less efficient. And efficiency is really the king. So let's talk about some examples where you feel like you've added too many systems, too many processes, and now we can't get anything done.
Or it's too many steps in the process is the biggest problem. And that's because typically when you create a process, when you first start it, there might only be 2 or 3 people.
Sure.
But as your organization or your team grows, you add more people into it. So you're like, oh, let's add them in the steps. And next thing you know, in order to order toilet paper, per se, the COO is approving the toilet paper order, and that should never be the case, because that's something that we're never going to deny anyone.
That's as mission critical as it gets.
Yes. So, for example, last week, I got an email and it said, will you please approve this Amazon order? And I looked and it was literally copy paper and toilet paper. And I was like, okay, those are things that we must have every single day. So I shouldn't have to approve that. Yeah. Now, if you're wanting to order, a new banner to hang outside, of course, that might be something we need to make sure is in the budget, but we're always going to buy copy paper and we're always going to buy toilet paper. So I shouldn't have to approve that. That means we have way too many process steps in the process, and or the wrong person's in charge of approving that.
Yeah. What examples do you have, T-Lane?
I mean, I'm feeling it right now. So our church 2 years ago, about 150 people. We actually hit a new attendance record last week, which we're really excited about. So we've just had to really quickly grow, but really quickly add new systems and really quickly add new staff. But no, you're right. It always drifts towards complexity. I would say purchasing. I would say in adding new volunteers. We see that a lot. My biggest thing is just little things I don't need to be a part of. Oh, what if we end the song this way? It's fine. I trust you. What kind of donuts do we want? It's fine. I don't need to be consulted on that. It's fine. I really think what I've seen is it comes down to really having the right people in place who understand you and your heart and your vision and your culture. And I think if your people are carrying that and know the certain constraints, you can trust them really just to release them to just do their thing. That's what I've seen as really helping me get out of those little details like the toilet paper and the copy paper.
Yeah.
Well, and one time I had asked my assistant, I said, hey, in the very beginning, I said, hey, can you order me some pens? And then she said, well, do you want ballpoint pens? Do you want red pens? Do you want, just asking. And it's like, no, just when I say order pens, even if you get it wrong, that's fine. Just order the pens. Yeah. You make the decision on what you think I'm going to like, and then we can go from there. One of our employees had gotten a bigger pay raise. And they came to us. They said, hey, we love this, but we got a promotion, a bigger pay raise to work at ADP. And he came to us and he said, I want you to know that the processes we had at Chantel Ray were so much more efficient. He's like, you would think here we're going to a multi-billion-dollar company. He's like, and the processes are so inefficient. There's so much bureaucracy. Every time you need to do something, it takes so long. Yeah. And so let's think of some more examples that we can give people that are like really specific examples to cut down on all that slack where we just don't need to have so many processes.
Well, people often think that, in order to simplify, you need to create processes, which you do, but it's actually very, very difficult to simplify because you have to find the right steps in the process. Yeah. And so I'll give an example. So we have a nonprofit organization called CR Cares, and we get tons of different donation requests. Everything from somebody needs help paying their mortgage to they want us to sponsor, someone's baseball team. And
so we have 2 different things. Yes. We have chantelray.com/sponsorships, which that's just for regular sponsorships. Then we have CR Cares, which is more for churches and things that are really nonprofit helping people.
Yes. So we people have Chantel's email address, so they'll send stuff directly to her or to whoever. But when it goes into, they'll send it to like the donation request will come in, or the marketing request will come in. Then it goes to the branch office administrator. So the branch office administrator gets it, and then they send it to their managing partner. The managing partner gets it. He sends it to the director of accounting, and it's like, hey, is this something we can sponsor? She then sends it to the board for them to approve.
It's driving me,
Yes.
I'm annoyed even hearing that. Yeah.
Yes. And
Like,
so in the meantime,
yeah.
the person's like, hey, am I going to hear from someone? It gets lost in the process, and
sure.
someone says, hey, did you get my request? I mean, it's just insanity.
And who knows where they're at a month later.
Right.
For crying out loud.
And they're like,
you know?
it's gone now.
Yeah,
it's
sure.
done and
By
happened.
the time you even get an answer.
Right,
yeah,
right.
The
So-
need might be gone.
Yeah, so we really had to look at that process and say, okay, one, it needs to go straight to the decision maker. It doesn't need to go through 3 levels of just pushing it up the chain. Send it straight to the board for decision making. We meet regularly, approve, deny, adjust, whatever it might be.
Sure.
And that way we can get that stuff done quickly and back to them. So,
And there's other things that we put in place for it to not even go to the board. So let's say someone puts in a request. So we have a board meeting, say there's 6 people on the board, and before they even present it to the board, if someone asked for $60,000 and it was for
saving the straws from the turtles.
and while we love
those
turtles,
We love
I love 'em.
turtles.
but that doesn't fall into one of the categories that we are passionate about. We can't be passionate about everything.
You can't,
So we
no.
have to say, hey, there's certain organizations, while we think they're great, it's just not ones that we're going to sponsor. So they're not even bringing it to the board. They're
That's good.
hitting deny right away.
Save some
Now
time.
we're not even wasting that time at that meeting.
Yeah.
So that is a good one. What do you have, T-Lane?
I mean, for us, it really comes down to purchasing. Where we currently stand, and I think I don't remember the exact story, but I probably just got really frustrated at someone probably in the early days. But for us, if it's something mission critical, or if we're like replacing something, just buy it. I don't need to be told, hey, this broke. Can we get a new one? Hey, this is worn out. Can we get a new one? For us, if it's
So
mission
give us
critical,
an example of that.
oh goodness, we always every week we probably have a wire that runs through, or something that breaks, or something that chips. You know, if it's
Well,
a small
you're a portable
purchase-
church. Something's breaking.
We have to, and I mean,
Yeah.
I can't say no. Like
Yeah.
we need it to
They're
function.
like, hey, your mic's broken, T-Lane. Do you want us to buy a new one?
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't need
yes.
to know about that,
Yes,
nor do I
yes.
care what model
Yeah.
we get. No. You just got to buy it. Save everyone some time, get the best price, buy it. But if it's, I mean, y'all mentioned a banner. If it's expansion or a new direction or a new sound system or something, that's something that has to come around the table.
So let's talk about that. So that would be maybe at the next volunteer meeting, you would stand up and say, I want everyone to know the purchasing request process.
Sure.
Meaning, if the product we currently have and it's mission critical and it's below X amount of
Sure.
dollars. So if we know we definitely need it and it's below $500, it doesn't need to go up the chain.
Yeah,
That's something
go for
that
it.
can automatically
Yeah.
be. Now, it's got to go to someone though
Sure.
to approve, right? Like the volunteer can't make that decision.
No.
So who would make that decision?
Essentially, whoever's leading the ministry, whoever's leading the team. Like our student guy, actually, probably yesterday, he wants to do a student event, and he was excited. He was pitching the idea. Can we do this? And I said, well, is it in your budget? Yeah. Does it excite you? Yes. Like, do it. That's great. Like, I'll give you good coaching. If you need help, I'll guide you through it. I'll give you all the feedback in the world. But no, if it's something that lines up with our values, that's our culture, that's something we've already really decided on, we want to go this route, I don't need to be a part of every
it.
decision. I don't think people, like maybe marketing might just think of marketing. I think there's that tendency. So when they bring it to you, it's a really big deal. But if you have to oversee marketing and sales in every department, a 10-minute conversation might seem small to them. But if you have 20 of those a day, that's taking up a good chunk of your day.
Yeah.
Just saying, yep, go for it. It's fine.
Yeah.
So no, I think these things, I've had to explain to some folks gently, it might not seem like a big deal to you, a 10-minute conversation, but if you have 20 staff, each bringing you a 10-minute thing every day, that is a good chunk of your afternoon gone.
Plus, you're using your decision-making power on something you didn't need to use it on.
Yeah,
and
what do they
you
call
have
it?
decision-making fatigue.
Decision fatigue.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's just like, I love how Craig Rochelle says that he has his assistant, like he has like 5 meals that he loves. And he says, just order one of these every day and have it on my
awesome.
desk for lunch because I'm not going to decide what I'm going to eat. And I mean, I don't know how many times a week I'm like, what do I want for lunch today? I mean, that's such a great thing because like
Yeah.
I'm wasting energy, mental brain power energy on which am I going to eat, a peanut or an almond? Like, I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so people don't realize that, like you said, what seems like a very important decision to them is really like, and I think part of that is that as leaders, you have to train the people who you're empowering to make those decisions to think as you would, or at least 80% of the way you would make that decision. Because once they understand, like, I feel like I understand most of the time, I can almost predict what Chantel's getting. Like, if someone's going to ask her a question, I can say, she's probably going to say blah, 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 because I've worked with her long enough and I know how she's going to do that. And I think if you can do that, and the way that you do that is like, so I'll give an example. Like, if someone came to me and said, we want to, buy a ISA, like our inside sales department has needing a new computer.
Sure.
And I would say, okay, can we buy one? And so I would go through the process with them of how I'm going to help make that decision. So I'd be like, okay, great. What I want you to do is come back to me with 3 options. Okay. And so if you train them in that way, the next time they come to you, they're going to say, hey, we need a new monitor. And I already brought you 3 options to pick from.
Well, no, let's talk about that, because we were at a meeting one time. We were at a management meeting and I was furious because someone said something like, well, our inside sales computers are so slow. Like, the reason why they're so inefficient up there is because their computers are so slow. And I said, okay, I'm going to stop everyone right now, because I am so into efficiency that what I'm upset about is how do I not even know? Well, I don't care that I didn't know, but why hasn't this problem already been solved? Sure. Did I not empower you to look at that and go, this is inefficient. We need new computers right now. So I was actually furious. I was like, we better have new computers in ISA. And within a week, we didn't buy new computers. We just upgraded them. We found a better
solution, because actually we could do that and get them a faster computer than buying a brand new one. But either way, we stopped. She stopped the meeting right there and she said,
what did I do wrong?
How did you not feel empowered? Did you not feel like you could ask me?
That's a really good question.
Like, what stopped that process? And they were, they were like,
making excuses.
Yes. Yes, they were.
That's a good question, though.
It is.
I love the humility to ask.
What did I do wrong that I did not empower you to have already made this decision?
I would have hoped you would have known.
Yeah, you should have known that. I would have definitely said, we need to put our money into making people more efficient.
Right.
So I don't think they ever answered the question.
No, because I think that it was just a lack of urgency.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes.
So what else? What's another example of us not just making too many steps that are unneeded for a process?
I was listening to the Craig Groeschel Leadership Podcast on, on Slack. I'd always heard of that. I've always had that tension. It would be the equivalent of, okay, you want a new banner. So you guys talk about it, and then you ask your assistant to make a call, then she makes a call, and then, essentially you have 5 people playing phone tag, email tag. 3 weeks goes by, and then you get an answer back. Oh, how big did you want it? You're just at square one. And you're frustrated because you wish you would have had it that week. So I've always had that tension. I've never known what to call it. He called it Slack. I love that I can slap a name to it. But like for me, that stuff just absolutely drives me crazy. And what he had said, I wrote it down. I loved it. And I can't wait to share it with my team. I've already sent it to several of them. He says, you have to always be looking to remove a step, to empower a person, to kill a rule, and to repeat. My favorite one on there is actually that you have to repeat that process, because I think it needs to be part of your culture. Yeah. As you grow, you have to constantly be doing this. I think at every meeting, almost maybe every quarter, you have to look and say, okay, we've added this department, or how many salesmen, like what is outdated? What is still living where we were 6 months ago? I think it needs to be part of who we are. It's just constantly evaluating. How can we be better? How can we empower our people better? How can they think in your head more and understand our culture? So you don't get frustrated at things that they should know to just do.
One thing we did at one point, and I can't remember what the example was, but I think it was, I had asked one of my assistants or something to go get me some fruit. I was like, I'm just like dying on the vine. Will you go get me some fruit? And then she had sent, I said, I don't care what it is, just, get some fruit. So I think she went and she texts 100 different pieces of fruit to me, and I was like, I don't care. Just bring me some fruit.
Just like the
And
pens.
so
Just pens.
the pens.
Fruit.
And so what we had done, we had a code word. Do you remember, Heather? And I think it was called watermelon pen, because those were the two stories that kind of resonated with people. Is the pen story is like, do you want ballpoint? Do you want red pens? Do you want, click pens? Whatever it is, when somebody comes to you, you kind of need a code word that kind of makes it funny. That's what we did. We were like, watermelon pens. It just reminds you, I don't need to waste your time in answering that question.
And that's what it is.
Yes, it's just a waste of time. And you could do it in a funny way.
Yeah.
So like instead of you, as soon as someone starts, you could say, I'm going to stop you right there.
Yeah.
Watermelon pens.
Yes. I think too, like as your organization grows, what you need to do when you're looking at steps is like, if you have to add a step in a process, you need to remove at least one or two.
That's
like
great.
You need to have some type of rule of thumb that says, okay, now we have, like when, say, for instance, we're using the donation example.
Sure.
So now we have we're going to send an email out that gives us an automated process to approve this donation.
Yep.
That's fine, but it needs to take out a layer of who it's going to. So I think when you're looking at these processes, when you, like you said, how he said, review them, remove something, because sometimes you do have to add a step, but then I think there should be a rule like for every step added, 2 have to be removed. That way you can kind of just squish that process down, because I think you do need processes, but it's a matter of how long the process is going to have. Yeah.
And I think that one of the things that really happens is that when you have different departments, like this department's working on a project, this department, and then what happens, one of my biggest pet peeves is that when a project just goes into outer space, that's what I say. Meaning, let's say our creative team comes up with a concept. They bring it to the video team. The video team makes it. They've spent hours and hours making it. And it literally just sits on a computer somewhere. But it never got implemented because we've got 3 different teams. And then they all look at each other like, well, I thought you were going to post it on Facebook. Yeah. I thought you were going to post it. I thought you were going to do it. And it never fully gets out there. What can we do about that to kind of go, all right, this is, different multiple teams are involved. How do we make sure that that ball goes all the way to completion?
I think it's about ownership, because what happens typically when you have multiple teams working on something, which you often do because you need teams to come together to create the final product, is there's not one owner. Each team has an owner, but there's not an overall project owner. Like, who's going to make sure this goes to the completion? Because what happens is, and I was talking to someone the other day, and this made great sense. He said, most people can get something 90% done, but they can't get the last 10%. And you need a 10%er. You need someone who comes in and says, thank you so much. I'm going to wrap this up in a pretty bow and put it out. And I think that in order to do that, when you have multiple teams, you need to say, okay, when you have them all together and you're like, okay, you guys are doing this, you guys are this, but who's owns this project and who's going to bring it to me in a pretty bow?
And that's what really matters.
Yeah.
Because, you could spend 3 weeks working on it, but if it's just sitting on a computer somewhere, if no one ever sees it, what's the point of spending all that power getting it done?
Well, I think one of the things that I'm going to talk to our video department about is one of the things I can be a bottleneck for our video department, because what happens is, let's say that everyone comes up with an idea, and then what'll happen is, let's say the video department sends it to me, and then I'm busy, so then I don't do whatever it is, and so then they're like, let's say 3 weeks later, I'm like, whatever happened to that video that we were doing? And they're like, Chantel, we sent you an email and you never approved it. So then, that comes back on me. But it should be something where we say, once the project is completed, within 5 days, it must go live. Otherwise, guess what? The ownership cannot be on me. It absolutely cannot be on me. Meaning the director of our video department, no, it's not on me to approve. It's your job to make sure within 5 days, you've got to be knocking on. if I truly need
Sure.
to, first of all, we need to ask, do I even need to approve
That's a
it?
good
That's
question.
number one.
Sure.
Why am I going to be the bottleneck?
Yeah.
That's number one. If I'm
you can
empowering
have
him,
control or you can have
Yes.
growth, but you can't,
Can't
have
have
both.
both.
yes.
That's what they say.
So it should be something like where it's like, look, Chantel, if you want to see it, that's great. If not, you have 5 days to
Sure.
give your input or da. But the time that we're done, within 5 days, this project is going out.
Yeah.
So now when I come back and look at that project, I can say, was this done in 5 days? Then I can look back on them and say, it's something is not right here.
Feeling overwhelmed with creating and editing podcasts, videos, or virtual summits? Here at Simpronto, we make media and marketing simple. We can assist you with your video production needs and create 30-second up to 2-minute promo videos that will wow and engage potential customers.
So we've created the most simple service for you where we will caption your videos just like this for really, really, really cheap. And then we take it, we do all of this production, and we give you back a product that allows you to have the format to share on all of your social media, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, your webpage, you name it.
Do you have a podcast that you want to edit, launch, distribute? We can handle all of that for you and edit your episodes simply pronto. And if you're looking to create a virtual summit, we can help set up your website, edit the interviews, and so much more. Media, marketing, simply pronto. This is Simpronto. Go to simpronto.com to get started.
I think some people are so used to being micromanaged when
Yes.
you actually give them leadership and empowerment. I think some people are a little skittish. I've seen that.
Yeah.
Where you almost have to remind them, like, this is your thing. This
Yeah.
is your baby. Like, run with it. I will coach you. I'll give you feedback. But like, yeah, I don't want to be the bottleneck. I don't want to slow the organization
It's
down.
hard too when someone's like, so as you grow, the top level leaders obviously have to step back a little bit and
Sure.
let the people that they hire do their jobs. And that is hard for the people who have been with them
Mhm.
because they're so used to you approving everything.
Everything.
And they're like, wait, I don't want to make the wrong decision. And we have to make sure we create a culture as leaders to say, you're not going to make every decision right. I don't make every decision correctly.
Sure.
We all
Right.
make mistakes, and that's okay. And I'll coach you through it.
Yes.
And the next time you do it, you'll have the right vision.
Exactly.
But you're not going to get in trouble. I want to see it being completed. We
Yeah.
may tweak it here and there, but I'm empowering you
Yeah.
to take this and go with
And
it.
to take a
distribute
risk.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if it's not
okay.
exact, here's the thing. This is the other piece. If it's 80% of what you want it to be anyway,
Yeah.
then just be happy with the 80% that you want it to be. Where are you a bottleneck for your organization?
Probably in the early days, it was with social media because I wanted to see every post before it was put out, and that was
That's not
that was
possible.
a huge mistake. In the early days, doing a few posts a week, I did it, but I definitely slowed everything down. But nowadays, I mean, that's something I realized. I don't know at what point, but that's something I realized. One, this is driving me crazy because I'll change one little word and it doesn't matter. It's taking me 20 minutes to be like, oh, well, can we lighten that a bit? It doesn't matter.
You're like, I wanted her with blonde hair, not brown.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's
Yeah.
a total waste of my time and your time. And they're frustrated because that was probably the biggest thing. But because now we're very, very active. And I dropped that probably a year or so ago. But if I hadn't, it would just be awful. Same with production stuff too. I don't see videos anymore. I've told the team I don't need to see it.
I love
I don't
that.
need to see it. Someone needs to see it, but I don't. So Sundays often that's the first time I see something, which for me it's still a little scary, but it's healthy.
so good.
It's healthy, and
Because-
I want the team to know I trust them. And
Yeah.
I think that's what I think that's what it comes down to for us. I think it really shows them, post what you want to post, create, get out there. I'll give you feedback, but I think I need to give them the freedom to fail.
Sure.
But they need to be okay because I'm going to give them feedback. I'm going to say, I would have done this differently next time, or I would have done this. And I think that's way a better use of everyone's time to do it afterward, just to stay close in the process, but not give it up entirely.
I think another thing I'm going to do with I'm just keep picking on the video department. They're phenomenal, by the way.
Or video
but because I feel like I'm a bottleneck to them
Yeah.
because I'm a little bit of a bottleneck. But what I'm going to have them do is if I do see a video, I'm going to have them ask me the question, Chantel, is this 80%
That's a
of
good
what
yeah.
you want? And then if I say yes, they're going to say, fantastic, we're going to roll this out.
Boom.
Because I am a perfectionist and I like things just like I like it, just how I want it.
It's got your name on it. You
And,
got to own it.
and
Yeah.
you know what? That we can't grow that way.
Sure.
We cannot grow that way. So if the video is 80% of what you want, move through and let's do another one.
Yeah.
It's not perfect. And we can say, yeah, next time we could do A, B, C, or D.
Yeah.
But that would definitely be, where do you feel like you're a bottleneck?
Oh, I'm a control freak.
That's a problem.
100%. And it's
With what?
like I have anxiety just thinking about like when you were like, and I don't see the video till Sunday, and I'm like, I started having anxiety for you
you're feeling
because
it.
I
Yeah.
am a perfectionist
Yeah.
and I want everything to be perfect. And so but I will tell you, I don't believe when I delegate something to someone, I don't give them enough of the vision of the way I want to see it. So I'm like, hey, go do this. And they come back and I'm like, nope, this is wrong. Like,
Got you.
and then I end up doing it because I'm like, just give it back to me. I'm going to take care of it. And that's feedback I've gotten from people. They're like, you told me to go come up with this coaching plan.
Well,
I brought it to you and you were like, scratch. Because I don't believe I gave them enough detail in the beginning. Because I feel like if I give them my vision, I give them the detail that I'm looking for, they will come back with something that's 80%. I'm not setting them up for success.
Yeah.
And that is where I am the bottleneck in that. And
Sure.
I am a terrible delegator, yes. Mhm.
So what else do you feel like on your plate that you could even something, because I think what people forget is like, let's talk about sermons, okay? So even though that's your baby, right? There has to be some things in that sermon that you could say, instead, I'm going to be in charge of maybe 60% of that sermon.
Sure.
Somebody else can give me some different stories or some analogies or something that can get my creative juices flowing. So I'm not the one who's having to bring all of it to the table. Some different analogies, some different like skits or something to make that. Like, do you take 100% control of that sermon? Do you delegate any of it out?
Currently, no. But I do, like, for the whole experience, like the whole service, that is heavily delegated out. But for if there's a video component, a welcome component, even the songs, even like what's said between the songs, before the songs, there's prayer moments, that is all given away. I try to tell the team, okay, I'm going to end big, or I'm going to end on this, or this is kind of my main thing ending out. So that 30 minutes, currently still I'm holding on to it pretty tightly.
Yeah.
But the rest of the service, the team definitely has a lot of creativity and I guess wiggle room there. But no, I mean, that's totally, I mean, I think it's really easy to get into a creative rut. And I think having it all yourself, someone told me the other day, he didn't mean anything by it. He was like, hey, I've heard that joke before. I said, what are you talking about? He goes, you've said that joke before. I said, yeah, I probably did. But that's an example. One, I didn't notice that. But like if my jokes get stale or if my illustrations get stale, it's a really easy thing to do. But no, that's a good idea. Especially the comedic stuff and the illustrations.
Yeah. So that's what I would suggest is maybe like at the beginning of the week or whenever you're planning for that sermon to
Saturday
maybe
night.
Get your whole team together and say, okay, here's what I'm talking about. Here's the message. Here's what I'm doing. Can you come up with an illustration? Can you come up with this? Can you come up with that? And then they can fuel stuff to you and you can still tweak it and do whatever. But that might be a way that even something that's your baby, you can delegate some of that out. So let's quickly talk about meetings and how those can be a bottleneck. I'm a big fan of having consistent meetings at the same time every week. Do you guys have like the same time every week?
We do, but I mean, the more I prepared for this and the more I researched, the more I'm like, I mean, I think Craig shared a story that I think he did a 3-hour finance meeting once a month or something. And then one week they had to do it in an hour for some reason. And they fit the whole thing into an hour.
Right.
They thought this was a 3-hour task, but they realized it's not. We were we were stretching it, talking about stuff we didn't really need to talk about. So that made me look and say, okay, this weekly 2-hour meeting, does it need to be every other week? Could it be 30 minutes? Like that really hit me in the gut to look at my calendar and say, okay, how can I be more efficient here?
How long are your meetings?
Oh, they're all over. Some are an hour, some are 2. It really depends. We actually took one was 2 hours, almost 2.5, our production meeting. We talk about the last Sunday and we plan for the next one. That 2 weeks ago was 2.5 hours. And so we got around the table and said we can't do that. That's a huge chunk of the day. So we took it down to an hour, but I think we were a little overzealous. We tried to do it in an hour and it just didn't work. So we're still playing with it and working it. It'll probably be an hour and a half for now. But I think that's why he talks about resetting. I think you constantly have to reevaluate and look and say, okay, where are we now? Maybe an hour and a half is good now, but if the team hits 8 or 10 people, that may grow as the organization grows.
One of the things that I have found that really works well in our meetings is when I say this, especially if there's a lot of people in the meeting. I say, okay, here's what we're going to talk about today, A, B, C, and D. Then I say, I want you to split up into your small groups. Cool. You guys are going to talk about A and B. You guys are going to be talking about C and D. There's no more than 3 people in a group. Everyone feels like they're contributing. Yeah. Even partners, just 2 people in a group really makes things more efficient. So now you come together and then you only give your idea, what we say. If it's not like amazing, just keep it to yourself.
Yeah. Or if you didn't come up with something,
if you didn't come up with something.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I can't stand an inefficient meeting. And people's time, like especially in our industry, like they don't have a ton of time to just be sitting around like smiling at each other and wanting to hang out. So we have to move quickly. But I was going to say the same thing. I think when we have these discussion topics, instead of doing it in a form of 20 people, we break up into these small groups of 3. Yeah. You say, okay, we're going to break up for 4 minutes. When we come back, give your one idea of how you're going to solve this problem. And then we are like, awesome, great. We're going to come back with you and let you know what we decide. It's so
I'd love for you to try that.
That's a great idea because everyone's talking at but if you waited for 20 people to each talk at the same time, it would take all day.
How many people are in that meeting?
That one, about 5 or 6.
So even if out of those 6 people, if you broke them up 2, 2, 2, and then each group can share one of their best ideas or whatever it is, it now has condensed the meeting already in half.
Totally. And everyone's being heard, everyone's sharing their idea. Yeah. The ownership is there.
Anything else that we can keep employees engaged and take away from the meeting, how we can condense it, we can get rid of some of that slack, make the meeting more efficient, and simplify it.
I love sending out, especially if we're going to be brainstorming something or reviewing it, I love sending it out ahead of time. Yeah. That way people come prepared. Yes. So when you're like, all right, we're going to today brainstorm how we're going to open up our 25th office. And they're like, wait, what? We're going to figure this out in 4 minutes. They're just not ready. We're getting nowhere. But if we can prep them ahead of time or what we'll do is we'll have a meeting before the meeting where we go ahead and kind of present what we kind of want them to pick. And then we start with them with an idea. If they start with just a blank slate, we are getting nowhere. Sure. But if we're like, this is what we want to propose, and we're going to give you, this is an option of how we can do this. Now you go back, you can either like our option, or maybe you can tweak our option, or maybe you have a whole new option we haven't thought about. But at least it gets their mind going, because otherwise you are just starting, when you start from a blank slate, it's going to take forever.
Yeah, I think the other thing is figuring out who's in the room. And one of the things I'm torn about, this is one thing I'm torn about, because sometimes I'll bring up a topic and let's say the director of accounting is in there. Well, it has nothing to do with the director of accounting. Like contract
training. And she's like, oh, well,
it has nothing to do with her.
Total waste.
The only thing about that is every once in a while, that director of accounting, or if it's the director of web, he'll come up with some idea and you're like, wow.
Oh, yeah.
That was really good. But it doesn't happen, I think, often enough to make it where you just literally need to say, let's write down all these topics. Do everybody in this room, do they really need to be part of this discussion? Or how can we say, okay, we're going to be brainstorming this. Here's these discussions for you guys. This is you guys. This is you guys. And then everyone can maybe do it at the end. What ideas do you have for that?
I mean, I love your idea, what you said before about having people break up and kind of talk. I mean, something I've found quickly is that, gosh, I think Craig Rochelle said it. It could have been John Maxwell. Essentially, like meetings are like a gas, not like a solid or a liquid. Like they will fill the space that you give them. If you say we have 4 hours to discover this, it's going to take 4 hours. If you say we have 20 minutes, it's going to take 20 minutes. And in my world, like we could spend 2 hours discussing the songs for each Sunday. We could play each song, play it again, pray about it, look at the lyrics, look at the scripture, play it. We could take hours picking the songs, but eventually like something like that, it's just like, okay, what what songs do we want to do? So that's one of those things we've just said it's too much because you drive yourself crazy.
That is a great point,
Yes.
actually. And we do that well. We need to do it better.
Yes.
She's the best one at it. That's why Heather has to lead every meeting we have, because she's literally, she takes her phone. That's another piece. So she will literally say, okay, we are now, because we have a leadership podcast we listen to every week. That's part of what we do. If you want to see what we do, go to chantelray.com/grow. And that gives you, you'll click on a 30-day span and you can listen to all of our favorite podcasts. We put those up there. But what she'll do is say, we're going to now split up into groups and we're going to talk about the podcast we did, and we're going to then share it. We have 4 minutes to discuss this. Ready? Go.
I like that.
She sets the button.
Yes.
You have and she's Nazi. She's like, hello. It's
like,
been
oh,
4
thank you, your
minutes.
time's
Thank
up.
you.
Yes.
And then we move right on.
Or they're just going on and I'm like,
Because it could take all day.
oh my goodness.
You have to.
Hey guys, I want to take a minute real quick to tell you about this retreat that I'm putting together. It's going to be just 10 lucky people that I'm going to select, and we are going to stay in a 5-star resort in Miami, and it's going to be pamper time. But the most important thing, I'm going to open up my books. I'm going to show you everything. You're going to leave there with my Word docs. You're going to leave with a USB drive with all the information that I've possibly done, every system in place. A lot of times you go to these conferences, you get all jazzed up, but you don't walk away with anything. You're going to walk away with this retreat with tons of systems. Go to chantelray.com/retreat to learn more. All right. So Heather's favorite way to stop someone in the meeting is to go,
Move them along.
thank you. Next, Josh.
If you do it in song form, they appreciate
Yeah.
it much more. Yeah.
So you just
It
start
lightens
playing it.
the mood.
So if someone's
Everyone
talking,
knows.
you just play it and
Yeah.
you
Yes.
I do a,
And then
I do
everyone
a
gets the
lyrical
picture.
interpretation. Everyone starts laughing and they stop talking and I look at the next
And they
person.
get
I'm
it.
like, your turn now.
And
yeah.
you don't need to go into a whole big thing because it's
No.
just like everyone gets
Yeah.
that's fine. It's great.
Yeah.
We love using songs because now you're not being rude. It's just funny.
Yeah.
It's
Everyone,
just
it
funny.
makes everyone laugh. Yeah.
All right. Last thing. Let's talk about, as you grow, you just start adding more rules because this guy did this and this girl did this. It's just rule after rule. And some of them you look back and you're like, this is ridiculous. Let's
Yes.
talk about some crazy rules we either implemented or almost implemented.
Yes. I will talk about the lunchroom rule.
Yes.
Yes. So one day you walk out of your office and the smell of fish just hits you and funk hits you and you're like, okay, new rule. Nobody is microwaving their fish lunch in the microwave anymore. Or another one of my favorites is, sometimes people take a break in the bathroom and it will knock you down when they walk out.
Okay.
And so we were like, you know what? From now on, if that's what you're going to kind of break you're going to be taking, you can, head across the street to our neighbor's public area and do that. Instead,
Well, what it was,
we got
we had 2 bathrooms. Here was our admin right here. They were literally sitting right in front of.
There was no buffer zone.
There was no buffer zone. I mean, it was like 3 feet to the
Trouble.
bathroom, and literally
They started wearing masks to work. It was like, what's happening?
Great.
I mean, some of the people would go to the bathroom, and literally, you would see the poor admin. They'd be like,
It's like a cartoon. They're
They'd be
turning
like-
green. Yeah.
it was awful.
That is
So we were
nasty.
like, okay, we can either implement a rule if you want to take a poop, you've got to go somewhere else, or
we can buy poopery and
when the poopery was
Yes.
going low or ran out, the admin were just having a fit.
They're buying
Yes.
it themselves.
yes.
And poopery's expensive.
It is.
It's very
Whoever invented
expensive.
that is making a lot of money.
They're doing well.
What rules do you have in place that you,
I don't know if I can't. I'm trying to think of one that we need to remove. Our main ones have to do with people up on the stage, like people during worship. We did not have the rule that, for us, footwear, be you, do what you want to do. But there's some people's feet need some attention. So you have to wear closed toed shoes now. That's a thing.
yes.
I don't want anyone leaving church because you have to stare at feet for an hour. That's
It's
gross.
eye level. It's eye level when you're standing
right there.
up.
Right in your face in the front row. We don't want that. Baptism's in a few weeks. With baptism, there's some interesting wardrobe choices, which can be unpredictable. So we tell you now, you're wearing this shirt, And
So
we
you give them an Ascent shirt.
Yes.
Is it black?
It is.
Mhm.
And we do the black shirt and we say shorts very clearly. Say shorts. And last time someone came with something different.
What
and we
did
said,
someone wear without it? What were they wearing?
People will try to wear a bathing suit or they'll just wear all kinds of things.
You're
Tank
like, this
top.
is not
and we're
Miami.
like, yeah, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thong.
not yet. But with a good rule in place, maybe that'll never happen.
Yeah. Well, we need to think about what rules.
Yeah.
It's funny because we actually went through our agent manual and there were some things, I can't think offhand what they were, but there were some things that was like, this is just not necessary. You do need to go back through your handbooks and your manuals and go, is this absolutely essential for us to be doing business?
One person probably made a mistake or had a bad Monday, and then on the top, it's just like, okay, this is what we're doing now.
Yep.
That's how it goes.
All right. Well, thank you guys. I think this is a great episode.
Yeah.
We'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Real Life Leadership. If you'd like to get the show notes or access more resources, log on to reallifeleaders.com/podcast to get the show notes from this episode and any other resources we might have mentioned. And also, we'd love to hear from you. Be sure to review or rate this podcast on Apple Podcasts to help spread the word. And if you have any leadership questions you want answered, email podcast@reallifeleaders.com.